Well, welcome back. I very much hope that you're enjoying this, whether you're watching this live or on catch up, and wherever you're tuned in from. We've got a formidable array of investors and entrepreneurs joining us today. Why don't I bring back some of our guests from the performance or the event so far to join us in no particular order. Dan Walden, we have just been hearing from, the CFO of ProCook. Welcome back, Dan. Adam Minto, you will have heard from already, the Chief Exec of Revolution Beauty. Good to see you again, Adam. And Chelsea Williams from Seraphine. Chelsea, loved your session earlier. Thank you again for that. And I'm rejoined by Nigel Parson from finnCap Group. Nigel, this has been quite a treat, actually. How have you been enjoying this so far?
Well, I'd first of all like to apologise for not wearing a black shirt today, but clearly a slip there. I think it's been every bit as good as I hoped it would be, and all the speakers have stepped up to explain, the real essence of what makes their businesses special, and avoided talking about results. And I'm delighted, and I'm sure the afternoon will be great as well.
No, you're right. It has been, it's sort of been, I've been very inspired, but help us set the scene for this particular panel, just briefly, Nigel, because, we've, co-created the event really. And I know these are themes that you really want to get unpicking.
In terms of marketing, then talking to investors, it's right at the top of their agenda when discussing with chief execs and finance directors. And the business models are fairly straightforward, and the report and accounts are fairly straightforward when looking at these companies. They are not asset intense, they are not high capex models, and the big variable tends to be marketing in terms of the P&L, and this can be as small as 5% and as high as plus 30%, and the margin that you save from having to work directly with retailers, you can reinvest in marketing. Now, how does that work? How do you measure lifetime value? How do you measure cost of acquisition? How do you measure cohort data? And how do you cope with all the changes in terms of consumer is absolutely top of list of the shopping lists of investors. And that's why this is absolutely the first panel, and I'm going to say as little as possible because I'm surrounded by experts here.
Well, listen in with me then, Nigel. Thank you. That's actually really helpful. Well, Dan, Adam, Chelsea, good to connect you with each other. By the way, feel free to build on what each other's saying. I'm not expecting everyone to agree because you've all got very different businesses, very different approaches on that. Is anyone, on Nigel's point, is anyone prepared to give me a view on how much they do spend on marketing, either in real terms or as a percentage? Can I get any snippets from you, Adam Minto? Can I draw you out on that?
Oh, thank you for that, Ollie. Yes. Well, I'll go as bold, and I think Nigel noticed. So we actually don't have a physical marketing team in Revolution Beauty. We have a brand team, we have a social team, but it's actually one of our pillars because the beauty industry was stuck in the old way of marketing to the consumer. And we, of course, market to our consumer. But as Nigel knows, we built a community, as I mentioned earlier, and that really is the most important thing, I feel. And it's still possible today. Social media, as I'm sure Dan and Chelsea will say, has evolved dramatically and is continuing to change with algorithms and how much you need to invest. But at the heart of what you do is about building brand love, and the best way to express it, I'm sure both Chelsea and Dan's experience has been, you're unleashed as an entrepreneur building a brand when you can communicate direct to your consumer. So you should never forget that. It is a two-way traffic. It's not just the volume, the engagement, or the number of likes. So really, I'm going to answer in a minute. we are high single digit in terms of what we spend right now. And that really comes from a number of different metrics in what we do. We are doing no above the line traditional marketing. So I'm doing no press print and I'm doing no TV. My investment in marketing per se goes to Google, of course, in search. It goes to Mark Zuckerberg in paid social, and now Tencent in TikTok. and then in influencers, and that's how it breaks down. And really, you have to toggle. In my view, sometimes Google is way too expensive, and obviously in beauty, influencers and paid social are doing that. So I actually have quite an even mix between that percentage.
Interesting. Well, look, I know, Adam, thank you. Now, Chelsea, I know it's not the most inspiring opening question, but it's actually really helpful, isn't it, to just give us a glimpse of, how much you're spending, and frankly, as Adam's already given us an insight into where the money goes. Just get us right into the detail, if you would, just to give us a glimpse.
Well, I mean,
don't forgive me, Adam. Briefly, I'm going to ask Chelsea that, so we get her perspective, and then Dan.
I mean, obviously, a completely different marketplace. I mean, for us also, there's a huge value, and it plays to what you're saying, Adam, about word of mouth within the motherhood community. I mean, that is massive, and there's so many mummy groups and different kind of antenatal groups where just women talking to each other, it spreads like wildfire. But in terms of our spend, I mean, we're kind of low teen percentage of sales, and we have a great focus kind of within the social media marketing and also Google as well. But it's really important for us to have these really aspirational campaigns that inspire mums as to what products they'll buy into.
Understood.
Yeah,
now,
sorry,
will you help us?
Chelsea, I agree completely. I think the reality is, unless you have a base level of community, and as Chelsea's saying, that micro influencer, which people like to call people, but it is obviously cute consumers eulogizing about your products, then of course you have to try harder in the investment piece. So any advice to anyone is, you've got to build your community, you've got to do the basics right, you've got to listen to your customer, foster the micro influencer, and then you have to accelerate and amplify, which can be done more robustly, because you're just finding new eyeballs for the things that people love, which is always a good model.
No, it's a good one. Dan, where are you coming from on this?
Yeah, so it's fascinating hearing from Adam and Chelsea, because their businesses are both grown in different ways to ProCook. And as I mentioned earlier, ProCook began its life in '96 with a one-page spread in the Good Food magazine, which featured a 12-piece cookware set, which was on retail for, I think it was £199, and that one page generated sales of around £75,000. Just a fantastic start. So we've begun very differently, and we've grown particularly through retail, through gradually building up customers over many years that have remained loyal to us, and then we've accelerated through bringing in e-commerce and growing that channel more effectively. Our marketing spend in total is probably similar to the number Adam sort of quoted, so high single digit, and that spans our e-commerce channel, which is around 50%, our online sales around 50% of our total business. And we generate this year around a five times return on ad spend on cash that we spend on Google, on paid search, paid media, social channels as well. We're new into some of those areas. We're about to do some stuff on TikTok, which is exciting, but compared to what Adam's doing, we're in the sort of early days in that arena, and we see that as a huge opportunity for us, because we all know that everybody loves cooking and everybody has to eat, right? So this is really, really exciting for us. We've got lots to do, but we do obviously do lots of remarketing. We still do some above the line, some brand building campaigns, but we just see massive opportunity for us to accelerate what we're doing.
So why don't you tell us then, Chelsea, what is so powerful about D2C? Because the thing that keeps coming back as I hear you talk, and all of you talk, is around personalization. So can you help me understand how personalization really drives sales? How does that work?
It's a little bit different for us. I mean, we do a little bit of personalization on site in terms of merchandising and the search features. But when it comes to our customer, I mean, they all do have one kind of aim in mind, and that is to deliver the baby safely, of course. And so we find that actually, as long as the content is embodying new motherhood and so on, it works, and it is still quite personal to them. But in terms of actual personalization, when we onboard our customers, we're able to, we were able to deliver marketing material to them based on whether they're pregnant, nursing, or a gifting customer. And so we're quite, for us, that we can break it down into these really key segments and personalize that way. And especially if we can have an idea of when they're going to go from pregnant to nursing, we of course can serve really relevant content about packing hospital bags, about taking baby home, about baby shower gifts, christening gifts, this sort of thing. But obviously there's one thing that we are looking at, and an area where we're thinking about, which is how we can make the experience online more tailored in this really simple way of whether they're pregnant or nursing, pre or postnatal. So that's one thing that we are, thinking a lot about at the moment, about how we can improve the online experience.
Right. So without giving away all your secrets then, Chelsea, have you got ways then to pick up somebody very early on, if I can put it like that, in their pregnancy journey before they've technically started shopping? Are there clues that they leave?
Of course. I mean, there are classic kind of like lifestyle, life cycle milestones. Let's say there's a lot of kind of key indicators that tend to happen right before people then decide to plan a family. And that is really interesting for us, kind of in different partnerships we can work with, things like, actually I don't want to give away too many of our secrets, but in terms of our partners, you can think about key things that come before that positive pregnancy test, that kind of feed into the maternity journey. And so yes, there are ways for us to start to kind of onboard that. But the truth is, there's a lot of opportunity for partners working with us, because we are actually a really key indicator in a lifestyle change. I mean, there are so many brands that come right after Seraphine. If you think about, motherhood, baby sensory, all sorts of different things, like the nursery, baby clothes. I mean, we are really this kind of key indicator so we're also very valuable to our partners.
No, I get it within that context, and how valuable you are to partners. So here comes Dan then, Adam, into the TikTok world. We don't want him to look like a dad dancing at a disco. What tips have you learned? Because this is about tailoring your approach to different demographics, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's, the simplest way is it's never an advert. It's never an advert. It is a showcase of what your product can do, but it's never an advert. I think TikTok say it best: don't make adverts, make TikToks. And so, how do we do it? Our team are TikTokers, so it's not, again, one of those points where I didn't want a traditional marketing agents. We're not marketeers. They're people making great content here, outside in the office, about showing the product. So I can get quite excited about what Dan can do, because I'm quite hungry and I miss lunch. There's so much what you can do. And the best thing about TikTok is it is real. So it can be done just with a camera here and now, showing what you're doing and so on. And that's the rule. The rule is be real. The best thing about it is it's full screen. There's obviously important things, and it is the scroll. So you have to interrupt. There's a 3-second and a 7-second rule, basically. So it's all about interrupting the scroll. Chelsea said, there's people like Chelsea trying to serve content. There's, everything's trying to get into your grid. So if you're going to make authentic content, you've got to be an interrupter on the scroll. 3 seconds. You've got to get your message over, or something to interrupt in 3 seconds. If not, the thumb's not going to do it. But the best thing is you can measure it. Agencies that help you do it, or other things, can help you measure it. Test and learn. Try it. So
what's the biggest, just very briefly, because I've got so much I want to get in here, what's the big misconception about TikTok then, Adam?
It's not a place for adverts. That is the biggest thing. Advertise to your customer. You get into the zone with the customer. Fact. It's absolute fact. If you open up TikTok, you'll find that it's not a standard Revolution there, or a Maybelline there. It's not what you see in store. It's nothing like that. It will be set to music, of course, or it will be other elements that make it interrupt your pattern. It blew the doors off social media because it's physically engaging, and it's not trying to sell you stuff. One of the problems with TikTok, as I'm sure Chelsea knows, is trying to work out how it drives sales. So it's, Facebook and Instagram will tell you what they believe, as Google will tell Dan what they believe it's doing, and we all question that sometimes. But obviously, it's definitely a way for discovery. It's definitely a way for brand building, and it's incredibly exciting.
I was gonna say, I think it's brand and it's community, right? Yeah,
absolutely. So it's a playground for your consumer. It's a playground for your products. You just show what you do authentically as possible, and if they love it, they will come and find you and buy your product. And of course, TikTok is making that easier for you to do the fast checkout that I said earlier on, which I cannot recommend highly enough. Chelsea, Dan is an example of that. Straight to website, straight to fast checkout. Amazing. Done.
No, it's good. I like it. So tell me, Dan, because I'm very interested in this topic of trust, and I just wonder, particularly we hear and we talk about influencers, micro influencers. Can you just speak to that a little bit? Because clearly, if you're going to have something in your own kitchen, in your own home, it's got to last. The handle can't fall off. Just tell us how that works.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, we create trust, I suppose, in a number of ways. Firstly, we create products that are built to last instantly. We believe that is what customers want increasingly at the moment, with increased awareness about throwaway cultures. So our products are pretty much all come with guarantees. They start at a year, but many are 5 years, 10 years, and indeed up to 25 years. And we start the product journey, the trust journey, with guaranteeing what we sell. So that's an important factor. In terms of how that transpires into our marketing, well, of course, we want to talk about the quality of our product ranges. We do that in various different media forms. And as for social media, we have begun to work with some influencers in a pretty small way. And we're testing and learning, like Adam says, about what works for us. We're currently looking at an ambassador style program. We're currently looking at micro influencer groups to try and build that sort of trust and engagement across a wider community. So there's lots happening in this arena for us.
Does that, by the way, Dan, what does that mean to you when you say micro influencer? Just for our viewer that might not be accustomed to these thoughts.
Well, the groups we're looking at are micros, at least in my mind, and I'm not an expert on this, you'll have to forgive me, but generally 1 to 20,000 followers, perhaps even the 1 to 10 would be where we're starting to think. We want to do this in the right way. We want to do it in a sensible approach that prevents us from paying for everything, but also uses people that have some authority and credibility with what they do. So there's plenty of cooks, home chefs, bakers, people who do things with food and lifestyle that we're looking to tap into within that social media arena. And equally, talking about content, which Adam mentioned, we've opened a cookery school on Tottenham Court Road. And one of the key purposes of that was two actual purposes. One, experiential retailing, so cookery school above a store. But number two is all about digital content creation. And we've kitted that out with loads of video technology. We're so excited.
This is music to Adam Minto's ears. The scene is set for your TikTok debut. I can see it. Chelsea, what have you learned about influencers? And by the way, how do you incentivize an influencer and remain authentic?
Well, I mean, I think we are a little bit, we kind of look at this from two different angles. I mean, for many years, I prided ourselves on the fact that we didn't pay to place products. I mean, we benefit. I mean, we have such incredible product that is so useful and so practical for people, that also looks fantastic, that we have so many influencers come to us and we gift them and they just wear it. It's not even a paid placement. And actually, I believe that really plays into the credibility and trust when women are thinking about products that are going to be used around their infant, around themselves when they're pregnant, what they're taking to the hospital. They don't necessarily want something of course it looks great, but they don't want it just because it looks great. It needs to be it needs to have that credibility. So it's important to us that we don't kind of go down the route of just hashtag ad in terms of our product placement, especially anything that has to do with the baby, the newborns and so on. However, what we find is more on the fashion side of things, there's a real opportunity because it's a lot more accepted on the kind of more fashionable side of the journey. And so we kind of like to balance both, and also look at opportunities where we're working with maybe a charity and a celebrity and so on to kind of keep that credibility. And actually celebrities respond really well to that, I find, because they're at a very emotional time of their lives, and actually to do good in their communities is the most important, and it resonates with our customers.
No, very, very powerful. And Adam, of course, beauty is sort of perfect in a sense for influencers. It's, they're sort of made to share in that sense. What are the biggest lessons you've learned?
Well, following on Chelsea, I agree completely. You never use an influencer that doesn't love your product already. It's probably the best bit. As Dan steps into this arena more and more, the professional influencers deserve to be professional influencers, by the way, because most of what they're doing in a good way is they're obviously creating amazing content. And there was quite a survey, it actually stopped me on the track actually listening to Chelsea there. I remember being in the same place as Chelsea, that, oh my God, my products are good enough, I'm going to gift it, and I'm also going to work with people and they love it, blah blah blah. But you do have to pay people for the respect of the work that they do. And there's a survey about Gen Z, the commonly quoted Gen Z, and it's kind of a respect factor that influencers are getting paid, because it ordains them with the authority of what they are. And influencers could go on and be the next Pro Cook brand or the next Seraphine brand. They are certainly being the next beauty brand, for sure.
I think that's very fair. They're effectively models, and they deserve to get paid to put their face to a product.
100%.
Just like somebody that would be the face of your brand will get paid a day rate, right? It's the same
30
thing.
years ago, you're absolutely 30 years ago, it was Bobbi Brown, who was a makeup artist. There is no reason why the next beauty brand isn't Abby Roberts, who's a 21-year-old girl from Leeds who's absolutely awesome at makeup and the way she does it to a consumer. But back to influencers, I would say, generally speaking, is never work with an influencer that doesn't love your product before, and don't work with an influencer who works with too many of like-minded competitors, of course, and that's hard. But if an influencer is talking about a Maybelline concealer, God love Maybelline, of course I love Maybelline, a Maybelline concealer, I don't want to work with them the very next week when they apparently recommend the Revolution, because that doesn't do them or us a service. And that will usually be I'm sure Chelsea will know, usually be the management that have got that wrong, and you just need to get your communication right to the managers if necessary. But influencers deserve to be paid. They're creating viral effects that deserve to be paid.
Let me ask you this then, team, because Nigel, listening to this, it just strikes me that it makes some of the very traditional advertising we associate with, I'm not saying advertising's dead, but this is so much more engaging. I mean, if you look to what our colleagues in China might be doing, I mean, e-commerce and entertainment are practically fusing over there. This just seems on a different level of engagement.
You've hit the nail on the head. It's absolutely what makes D2C so interesting is because they can get so close to their customers and actually have a conversation. And social media also almost ends up like this sort of giant real-time online customer forum that's ever giving feedback straight back to the companies. And they tend to be the strongest advocates. I think the interesting question, which I'm sure you're going to ask, is how do you get too close to the people on the edge of those forums, or who you want to invite into the forum, and that of course delivers the growth.
Yeah, so it's a great point. So already all very well, preaching to the choir. But how do we acquire those new customers? How give us your, Dan, why don't we do quick fire on that? Because as you say, that's what's really going to get the investors sort of salivating, isn't it? Let's be honest. Dan, how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, our acquisition techniques are largely still focused on Google search. We just find it's a highly effective way to acquire new customers who haven't heard of us, who are searching for a product. We know our website converts well, and they come and shop with us again and become part of that community. So that still works for us really well. And we're increasingly doing paid social ads as well for customers who we target that we haven't shopped with us before.
Right. So can I pause you there, Dan? Can I pause you there? Simple example: if you're advertising against a search word like, let's say, saucepans, can you give me any sense of movement on whether you're paying more or less than you were, let's say, a year or 18 months ago? How's all this playing out?
So if on our non-branded terms, so a plain saucepan, not a pro-cook saucepan, a plain saucepan, we are broadly in the same pricing on bidding costs as we were around about 2 years ago. During the lockdown periods, we found that we had super high demand online, cost of bidding dropped, and one of the reasons we made particularly strong profits was lower digital marketing acquisition costs last year. So we've kind of returned towards a more normal baseline. For us, the profitability is improving because we've got a higher repeat mix in our business, so that helps offset. But we're still acquiring more customers.
Yeah, and Chelsea, are you having to spend more or less, to use the same terms, to get to those customers?
Well, the beauty for us is that actually, as we grow and we are able to, as David touched on, we're actually able to grow horizontally. So we are actually creating more and more niche kind of ad sets, and therefore in those niche spaces there's naturally less competition. So it's one of the strategies behind continually innovating, continually finding answers for needs on the motherhood journey that women are actively out there searching for, and then all the algorithms know they're searching for those things, and we're the only brand delivering those things. So the trick that we play, one of the rules we stand by is we never create an ad because other brands are doing similar ads in the maternity space. If anything, we avoid what everyone else is doing. Right. That's a really key strategy.
Because presumably, Adam, there's an extent to which what people are searching for informs part of your innovation roadmap.
Yeah, I mean, on that point, certainly we're tracking Google search all the time, and search on our website, and search on our social engagement on our social media. So absolutely, it gives you more data. But I'm sure Dan doesn't so much put paid ads on Saucepan. He'll make his things more descriptive. We like Chelsea will advertise in certain areas where we are strong, where we win, and hope to capture the saucepans of the makeup world when we've got them to the site, really. So I wouldn't bid on concealer, for example, because it's a generic term. I'd bid on a category that I'm owning, like beam highlighters right now, if you'd like to know. And then that will take people hopefully to my concealer. What? Beam highlighters, they're winning right now. So,
well, I was thinking, I would ask Nigel, but what is a beam? What is a beam highlighter? He's giving me the University Challenge shake.
It just softly absorbs into your skin to give you a very natural highlight rather than.
I'm joking. I knew that. So. All right. So let me see if I can draw you to be a bit provocative. What on this theme of marketing, social media?
Yeah.
What, and this is a very personal answer, I get this. What, with the benefit of hindsight, was a waste of time, was a waste of money? Have you, for whatever reason, moved on from? Chelsea?
I think I probably already just answered it. I think in the past, on very few occasions, we've been guilty of saying, okay, oh, look, all of these brands are doing these type of things. We better make sure that we not only do what we're fantastic of, but let's make sure we cover those areas too. And in reality, our money is so much more effectively spent where we are complete specialists and where we are so unique in what we do, that actually trying to compete with somebody who's doing something in a mediocre way, we're just kind of inflating the cost of those search terms. So for us, it's about sticking to what we're good at and where we're unique.
Yeah, crystal clear, very powerful. Dan?
I think it's a good question. We're still finding a way in a number of areas, particularly in the more social world. I think the challenge for us is how we balance that marketing spend, and we've got some more traditional methods that we've used recently in above the line campaigns that are hard to measure, and they are hard to understand the return on investment and therefore really get behind it. But at the same time, you look at our rate of customer acquisition and you think, that's not just come from paid search and paid activities online. There's definitely an awareness build. There's I think there's a balance between, in marketing, there's a measurable direct impact, and then there's a gut feel. There's almost you've got to know that some things are contributing in the whole. And the trick, it's a challenge, particularly for a finance person, is you always want the data and the numbers. But we take confidence that overall things are moving forward well.
Yeah. Okay. And Adam, what have you just had to strike a line through?
Well, I agree totally with Chelsea and what I said to Dan earlier on. Don't go after the general terms because that's crazy. So we pick the niche terms, pick the trending terms, and find the route there. It's definitely the right way on Google. And I think really it's about testing and learning. As I'm sure you know, social media has a habit of changing and adjusting, as in the algorithms change all the time. They change for the influencer, they change for you as a person, and so on. So it is about, as Dan's going to go through, finding that balance and toggling that balance all the time. So when it comes to influencers, sometimes an influencer is really hot for whatever reason, and that might not just be because of her content, it might be because of the algorithm. So you just need to do a lot. I think the difference between a Revolution Beauty and probably both of my colleagues here on the panel is that we're trying to be disruptors and challengers, obviously, to the even world, and you just need to keep making, as a company, lots of little bets every day. What Revolution Beauty does is make little bets every day rather than relying upon the big bet, and that's a balanced way of running your business.
It is a theme, Nigel, that we're going to return to, just this ability that certainly our three guests here have to innovate, that frankly their massive competitors struggle with.
Exactly, and it comes as no surprise to many investors that the big companies peer down at these little disruptors who are sort of growing like wildfire, and they cannot get near them in terms of sort of fleet of foot or engagement with customers, and that that's what makes the sector or this part of the market so interesting.
Yeah. So we've just got a couple of minutes left, but I just wonder if any of you will just give us a view of something, particularly on this theme of marketing, getting closer to your customer, that for you represents the edge in terms of where you're moving to. That could be in terms of the tools you're using, new platforms. It could be ways and approaches that you're thinking. Adam, I can see you nodding. Give me just a sight of something.
Well, you touched on it earlier on. Social media is what most of the panel might remember being TV. It beams into people's hands all of the time and is going nowhere. So, and it's actually modernizing itself. The people that worry about it should know that it's modernizing itself, or if the brand's on there or you're on there. So it's an exciting place. It allows us as a brand to connect. And I think we touched on the influencer and also the social media giant themselves. It wouldn't surprise me, TikTok trying to rival an Amazon in the future, because they have that power to do that. And that's
Adam,
where this is heading.
By the way, Adam, everyone, because we've all heard of TikTok, have you got another platform that can make us look cool in the office tomorrow?
Yes, I will give you one, actually. I'm not sure if the guys are on it. It's actually Telegram, which has been around for some time as the dark side of things. But if you want to build a community, you can do it on Telegram, and it's brilliant as a startup because it's effectively WhatsApp for business in a secret way, and you feel in a club. So Telegram is the place to do it, and it's all
of my friends who have stormed off WhatsApp in disgust have got me onto Telegram. Dan, give me a glimpse of where you're going, just in your thinking or what you're going to be using.
Yeah, so we're as I said, our approach has perhaps been a little more traditional over recent years, and I think this explosion of this opportunity that we see in social media, and has been very well articulated by Adam and Chelsea, is where we are moving pretty rapidly. And when I say pretty rapidly, we've begun paid social ads only in the last few months. We've started to substantially increase our following on Facebook and Instagram, and we're moving into Twitter within the next week or so. We've got a new CRM sort of team being established, and new marketing function being built upon, and technologies being added, and all that sort of good stuff. So we recognise this is where we can do even better, and we recognise that this can help us accelerate. And for us, it's going to be a learning process. We're massively excited by it. And we'll see where the journey takes us.
Good. Well, look, Dan, you and I have risen to the challenge of getting a CFO to talk about the cutting edge of social media. So that's points for us. Chelsea, where is Seraphine headed next?
I think for us, there's a similar formula that is so powerful, and that's about always kind of pulling on the heartstrings of expecting a new mum. So, but it's really important to make sure we put that content in the right place, and we recognize that every year the woman who's pregnant was born a year later on average, and it's important to make sure that we continue to look at the younger platforms where some brands might be able to stick with the same consumer as they age and therefore stay on the same platforms. It's really important for a brand like Seraphine to continually update kind of the platforms into the likes of TikToks and so on, and make sure that we stay with the cool kids, basically having the next babies. And that's a particular challenge that of course we're up to, that's important at Seraphine.